The shelter staff had seen Razor bend steel bowls, snap heavy leashes, and drive grown men backward with nothing but a growl. He wasn't just aggressive. He was considered unfixable. Razor was the most dangerous retired police dog they had ever handled. Unstable, unpredictable, and one incident away from being permanently written off. Then the front door opened. Blind veteran stepped inside. His white cane tapped softly against the concrete floor as Razor exploded behind the bars, slamming the cage, teeth flashing, rage shaking the corridor. The man didn't flinch, didn't freeze, didn't step back. He turned his head toward the sound and said calmly, "I want to meet that one." The staff stared in disbelief. Razor had injured trained handlers. What chance did a blind man have? But as the veteran moved closer, something changed. The growling slowed. The violence drained. Razor's ears lifted, trembling. This wasn't fear, and it wasn't obedience. Razor smelled something he hadn't sensed since the day his handler died. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The fluorescent lights flickered softly as Sergeant Cole stepped into the shelter hallway, his cane tapping a steady rhythm against the concrete floor. The staff recognized him immediately. The blind veteran who rarely spoke, who carried himself with a quiet strength that made people straighten their posture. But today, his presence stirred unease. "I'm here for the dog," Cole said calmly. The receptionist hesitated. "Which dog, sir?" Cole tilted his head toward the echo of low, rumbling growls coming from the end of the corridor. "The one they say can't be adopted." 3 staff members exchanged panicked glances. Everyone knew who he meant. Razor, the retired police K9 who had bitten 2 handlers and shattered a steel bowl with his jaws. "Sir, he's dangerous," one whispered. Cole didn't flinch. "So was I, once." He walked forward, unbothered by the warnings, guided only by instinct, and toward the dog everyone else feared. Before the snarling, before the locked steel doors, before the warning signs plastered across his kennel, Razor had been one of the most elite K9 South on the force. Officers spoke his name with respect, a fearless German shepherd who could track a suspect through smoke, darkness, or gunfire. But everything changed the night of the warehouse ambush. Razor and his handler, Officer Hawley, entered first. Shots exploded from the shadows. Hawley pushed Razor behind a crate, taking the full hit meant for them both. The dog crawled to his partner's side, nudging him, crying, refusing to leave even as backup dragged him away. After that night, Razor was never the same. He attacked anyone who tried to touch him, snapping at trainers, tearing through crates, howling for a handler who would never return. The department retired him early, labeling him unstable-dangerous. The shelter staff believed Razor's heart had shattered beyond repair. They didn't know that one familiar scent could bring the pieces back together. The moment Sergeant Cole stepped into Razor's corridor, the temperature of the shelter seemed to drop. Razor sensed him instantly. The German shepherd's growl rose like a storm, deep and violent, rattling the metal bars of his cage. Staff members flinched as Razor lunged forward, teeth bared, muscles tight with fury. "Sir, please step back," one of the workers pleaded, grabbing Cole's arm. but Cole gently pulled away. "Let me hear him," he murmured. He took one slow step closer. Razor's rage intensified, snapping, clawing at the bars, trying to break through as if defending something only he understood. The staff braced for the worst, but Cole didn't panic. He simply stood still, tilting his head slightly, listening not to Razor's growls, but to the pain buried beneath them. Then something changed. Razor froze mid-snarl. His ears twitched. His nostrils flared. The dog leaned forward, sniffing the air with sudden urgency. The growl faded into a confused whine. For the first time since his handler's death, Razor wasn't attacking. He was remembering something. Someone familiar. Razor pressed his nose through the bars, inhaling sharply, as if trying to pull a memory from the air itself. His tail didn't wag, but it stopped thrashing. His growl softened into a trembling breath. The staff stood frozen, unable to understand the sudden shift. Sergeant Cole lowered himself slowly to one knee. "Easy, boy. I'm not here to hurt you," he whispered, placing a steady hand on the concrete floor to guide his position. Razor stepped back, then forward again, conflicted, trembling until finally he let out a sound no one had heard from him in months, a soft, broken whine. The veteran's fingers brushed the outside of the cage, and Razor's nose touched them, barely, gently. Searching. That's when a staff member noticed something hanging from Cole's backpack, a worn, faded K9 patch. Officer Hale's patch. The same one Razor used to nuzzle before every mission. Cole had carried it ever since the night he tried and failed to save Hale's life. Razor wasn't reacting to danger. He was reacting to loss, to memory, to the one scent that tied him back to the partner he'd lost. And now, to the man who had been there in his handler's final moments. Razor's breaths grew uneven, almost panicked, as if his heart were fighting between fear and recognition. Then, slowly, hesitantly, he lowered himself to the ground. The staff gasped. Razor had never bowed his head for anyone since losing his handler. Sergeant Cole reached out again, his fingers trembling just slightly. "It's all right, buddy. I'm right here," he whispered. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried a calm strength that wrapped around Razor like a familiar embrace. This time, Razor didn't pull away. He pressed his forehead gently against Cole's hand. The cage that had become his fortress of pain suddenly felt too small, too suffocating. Razor let out a deep, aching sigh, the kind an animal releases only when it finally stops fighting ghosts. The staff stood in stunned silence as the most dangerous dog in the facility leaned closer, allowing Cole to stroke his head, his shoulders, even the scars no one else dared to touch. For the first time since Hale died, Razor trusted someone, not because he had to, but because something in this blind veteran's presence told him he was safe. When the staff finally opened Razor's cage, the entire hallway fell silent. No restraints, no muzzles, just the blind veteran kneeling with an outstretched hand, and the dog everyone feared stepping forward on his own. Razor moved slowly, each step deliberate, until he pressed his head into Cole's chest, claiming him, choosing him. Tears welled in the eyes of workers who had given up on Razor ever finding a home. But Cole only smiled softly. "Easy, boy. I've got you now," he whispered, fingers buried in the thick fur of a dog who had never let anyone this close. When they walked out of the shelter together, something extraordinary happened. Razor shifted to Cole's left side, guiding him instinctively, protecting him. Matching every step with silent precision, he was no longer a dangerous retired K9. He was a guardian reborn, and the blind veteran's world finally had light again.